I'm going to speak on discrimination, and it's not what you think. It's about discernment, actually. Let's get to this. Sri Klemp is the current living Eckmaster, and this book is the Spiritual Laws of Life. So it's a great guidepost as to what you should or should not consider doing, behaving like, etc. And I read 3 different videos worth of the chapter on karma because it's such a big chapter. But this one it says discrimination. So discrimination, the recognition that there is no good nor evil. Now that's already going to make you pause and go, huh? How is that possible? No beauty nor ugliness, no sin, and that these are concepts of the mind. Okay, the dual forces in the matter worlds. So in the matter worlds, so now this is me, that would be the underneath the 5th dimension, the soul planes. That would be in the matter worlds would be the physical, astral, causal, mental, and etheric worlds, okay? And in these planes, they have to have dichotomy so that we can learn lessons. So that's what they're talking about in the dual forces in the matter world. So there is nothing except in the mind, because we're in the physical right now, in part. Okay, the ability to make right judgments, to distinguish between those actions which contribute to spiritual growth and those which are a waste of time. Viveka, the first step in Eckankar is right discrimination, being able to discriminate between what will be good for spiritual advancement or what would be wasting time, the opposite of kama or lust. Okay, so, knowing if you should or should not be doing something, right? It requires a high level of discrimination to avoid breaking the spiritual law. In order to know when to speak and when to remain silent, you must apply the law of discrimination. How many people in a conversation are just waiting to jump in or respond? I actually take days, 1 day a week, where I don't talk to anyone, like at all, until like later, because I have, people around, my kids, I don't, obviously, but I don't talk the whole day. And it really puts me in a great place of knowing when to speak in other days, right? Because without being able to speak, you realize that most of what your people want to say or you're saying or talking about can just be frivolous chatter that's not necessary, So that's one thing I do that helps me to know when to remain silent. And other times is I take a day of silence, actually. Discrimination just means making the right choices. Some people have an uncanny knack for making the wrong choices, and that's why they have the problems that they do. They'll get into one unhappy marriage after another and another. 2, 3, 4 times the mate turns out to be an alcoholic. You say, what bad luck? But it's not bad luck. Soul, who is making the choices, has poor discrimination and makes poor choices. How do you change this? First, you have to look at your own weaknesses. Then you have to also know how to grow and develop spiritually. Generally, it's through singing the ancient name of God, Hu. This or one of the other spiritual exercises helps. So I do enchant the Hu 20 minutes a day at least, sometimes 40 minutes. And I'll close my eyes, open my heart in love, and I'll just chant you and over and again. And it raises your vibration. It kind of puts you back into the soul consciousness, and then that trickles down into you. It's really an incredible thing. As you grow in discrimination, you learn you can only accept a certain amount of something. Then you have to step back and say, I'll learn to do things another way. You fall back on your creativity, the creativity of soul. So let's say you have been in all those unhappy relationships and you're in yet another unhappy relationship. Then maybe you stop and pause and look at the choices you've made and you change the way you are so you don't create that situation again or become involved with another, like he mentioned, alcoholic, because that's not an easy path. If you want to be with someone who is an alcoholic recovered, okay, but even then, which I have done, if they're not really healed, internally healed, then they're still going to have their alcoholic tendencies in the way they treat others, and it just doesn't work. So, if they're in therapy and taking care of that kind of thing, then great. But if they're not, then I think that's probably a really not great choice. So that would be strengthening your discrimination and not choosing another person who's got that situation. Okay. They have to work that stuff out on their own. You're not their therapist or teacher. Okay. So consider that. As you grow in discrimination, I just read that, you learn you can only accept a certain amount of something. Yes. Then you have to step back and say, I'll learn to do things another way. Yes. Razor's edge of discrimination always hounds a seeker of God. The razor's edge means like it's a very narrow path. If you think of a razor's edge, and you can kind of fall off of it at any time. So you might have moments of what you feel like is like this incredible connection with God, source, all that is, enlightenment. Okay. But if you fall off into things like anger, even if you feel it's justifiable if someone was horrible, even a thought of anger towards them or malice or retribution is not staying on the razor's edge. There literally should be no one that you wish anything bad on at all. I don't know if everyone can say that. It's better that way though, for everyone. God speaks through dreams, intuition, and sometimes the voices of other people who have more experience than we do. But unless we have opened our heart through singing Hugh, we won't have the discrimination to know wisdom when we hear it. That is one way to open your heart and understand the discrimination that in discernment, to have the discrimination, to have the discernment, is to chant the word Hugh, and it really does raise you to a whole new level of conscious awareness. It really has changed my life personally. So I definitely, if there was something that someone asked me, like, what's the one thing I can do? One thing I can do to make my life better. Okay. I would say chant the word Hugh for 20 minutes a day. And what happened for me, at least on a personal note, was that it woke me up to a self-love deficit where I was kind of caretaking everyone else around me, and they were mostly very unhealthy people. And I just realized that, I need to respect me too and love me too. Like, it's not bad. For some reason, I was conditioned or thought that it was bad to really put myself first, but it's not. If you have children, they're first. But unhealthy people should not be your partner. They should be people that, you can wish well to from a distance, but never let in. So if you're with someone who's excessively unhealthy, abusive, etc., then you have to ask yourself, where is it that I'm not loving myself? And if you start to love yourself, then you'll have the discrimination to make a different choice and to either go to therapy with that person, and if they refuse, to possibly leave that relationship like I did. So I can tell you from personal experience that my discrimination was horribly poor, and it's also discernment. But it's like so much better now since chanting the Hugh, self-love, and also working on myself now because I love myself in every department. So for all these people who are like empathic, who are listening to this, if you were doing a lot for someone, okay, with things that they should have been doing for themselves as a grown-up, okay, then you need to stop doing those things. And then when you have so much more energy because you're not doing something you shouldn't have been doing, then you have the energy to take care of yourself. I mean, honestly, like to go work out, to take care of your finances, your home, number one, your children, your relationship with God, source, all that is. And everything changes. And when you have that much self-love, the people who used to try to siphon off of you, they can't get through. And they don't even know why they can't get through. Maybe you block them, obviously, but they can't even siphon off of you energetically anymore. Like, you're just done, And then you attract new people, because those people who are trying to siphon your energy will find someone else because they're starving, because inside they have no self-love. They're just trying to siphon it off of others. Whereas the person who's the giver is constantly feeling like their self-worth is dependent upon what they do for others. So they're kind of like opposite sides of the same coin. So the person siphoning still has no self-love, but the person who's over-giving feels like that's what they're supposed to do. That's the loving thing to do, and that would make them lovable. So it's two sides of the same coin. So if you want to stay in a paradigm like that, which never lasts, then you can. But I can tell you, as someone who survived and got out, that it's all about chant the hue, love yourself, and your discernment will be a gazillion times better, because you'll be led in the direction that you need to go to make the choices that are right for you. And then everything just kind of changes on the outside of your life. When you change within yourself, the outside will change. You won't be with, people who are abusive. It's mentally abusive to gaslight someone, to lie to someone, to raise your voice at someone. I mean, people do sometimes get heated and have, loud conversations, but in all honesty, in my new relationships, like, I don't have that at all. You should never be afraid with your partner to bring something up and talk it through, like they're going to yell at you or shut you down. So if you have discrimination, then you're going to make better choices. That's one aspect of discrimination that I'm incredibly familiar with. There are other ones. Like if you're with people and they want to gossip about someone else, and you say to them, oh, I have to tell you something, but don't tell anyone, think twice, because if they're trying to tell you stuff about other people, they're going to talk about you too. It's not going to happen. Just know that if you're with someone who's gossiping, they're probably gossiping about you. So your discrimination needs to go up, and you don't tell them anything or back away from that friendship. If you're with people and they drink a lot, or they're smoking, or doing drugs or something, have some discrimination. Or they're eating a ton of sugar or bad foods and they're food pushing on you, or whatever the case may be. Again, you don't have to partake. Have some discrimination. If someone is unscrupulous when you're at a register with them and say, oh, look, they gave me an extra $10, and you don't give it back, they don't give it back, I mean, that is a sign that you're with a liar and you need to run. If someone, lies to you once and you let them get away with it by going back with that person, and then it happens a second time, a third time, I can promise you it's happened 3,000 times. A lot of people are sociopathic, psychopathic, complete, compulsive liars. So run from them too. If you're a person who has that problem, get help. If you say you want to be better, but you're not going to a therapist and you're miserable, then you don't actually want to help. You just get yourself helped. You just want to be free to be a demon in human form. And I do believe that exists, especially when people drink. I have a lot of videos you guys should check under my spirituality section, because there's things you can do to be better. The 5 things you want to avoid is anger, lust, greed, vanity, and attachment to objects or money. That helps to look in. You have to do the work. There's no easy way around this, oh, well, the next partner is just going to be better. No, it's not about the partner. You have to raise yourself and fill yourself with love as much as you can. And to the point where you don't even want or need a partner. If someone shows up, okay, maybe, and maybe not. It's just incredible. It's just all about love and the divine love that you have for yourself, and the discrimination that you use in every now moment. I went to the gym today. I went to the club. I didn't have to go do a Zumba class. I could have stayed home. It's going to be a huge winter storm. I could have stayed in, but I'm no, I really I'm going to make myself go. I want to go. Yes, I have other things to do. But I made a discriminatory choice, a discerning choice to not neglect my health, my body. And boy, do I feel great. Like, it's so much fun. Do what is fun. That's another thing. Are you doing stuff that's fun? Like, if your workout regime is not fun, why are you doing it? Don't do it. Find something that you absolutely love. Okay? And find people that you don't have to put walls up with, that you can just be your vulnerable self with, that you're not afraid to be around, that you can, completely be yourself. Like, I can't express it more. If you can't be yourself and you don't feel safe to be yourself around someone, like to really let down all your guards and really be you, then that's not your person. Okay, that's not your person. If you're at all have to be hard around someone, then that's not your person. You have to be soft and vulnerable so discriminate the difference. And it's not just with romantic relationships, it's with, it could be with family members too. If there's family members who are constantly draining your energy, who are just all about themselves, and it's just time. Like, maybe it's time for you to consider just backing away. You don't always have to make a big show of it. Sometimes you can just gently back away. Other times you might have to block a person if they're constantly draining your cup. And you've had the conversation, you just have to walk away. It's not worth it. Sometimes, we are eternal. And if you're doing the work on yourself, but you're surrounding yourself with people who are in a pig pen, being piggies, oink, oink, okay? And they're getting dirty and muddy. If you get in that pig pen, guess what's going to happen? You're going to get dirty and muddy too. There's no way you're not going to get dirty and muddy in a pig pen with the pigs. You might have the biggest heart in the world, and you might see and meet people who are like really in need of help, and you might take them in and try to help them in some way or another. But the truth is, people need to go to professionals if they really want to get better. You're just going to be drained. So be discriminatory. Here's the big bottom line ending best advice is ask God, source, all that is. I ask the living Eckmaster, also known as the Mahanta, what is it that you want me to do? There's your discrimination. There's your discernment. And if you are quiet enough, you'll feel it in your heart. And you'll feel it and you'll see. Sometimes very often get images. I mean, I've been told so many different things I should or should not do. And I was warned about this relationship that I had once upon a time. And yet I ignored it because I wasn't listening to my discernment, discrimination. So every experience you have makes you stronger, like so much stronger. So my discernment is through the roof now. And I don't ignore the red flags like I did before. So I hope that this helps wake you up to knowing who you are, trusting who you are, and what that voice, that inner voice is telling you. If it's telling you, looks good, doesn't smell right, doesn't feel right, feels great on one level, doesn't feel so great on the other, something's off, trust it so you don't have to go on a detour, right? And then you can just have a really much better life. And I'm telling you, it's freedom when you actually trust yourself. So again, recap, chant the hue, trust that little voice that you hear, and be discerning. You don't have to say yes to everything or everyone. If something feels wrong, even going out to meet someone for coffee that day, trust your inner voice. Lots of love, guys, and have a great day.